We'll get started on just an introduction and some housekeeping, and then we'll jump into the presentation in just a moment. My name is Emily Denoncourt. I'm here representing the admission office at Landmark School. And for those of you that just joined, we wanted to make you aware that this visit is being recorded and will be shared on our website as a resource later on. We will be going through a slide presentation this morning that will share information about our student learning profile, the model of our program, our curriculum, our overall approach. And then around 9:45, we have a group of students who will be joining us. And that is definitely the best part of the visit. These students are excited to answer any questions that you have. And that student panel will wrap up by about 10:15. And then I will remain on the meeting along with some faculty administrators, and we can answer any questions that you have at that point. During the student panel portion of the visit, we will be using the chat function, so please feel free to type questions into the chat. You're also welcome to unmute yourselves at that point and ask a question, but again, just be aware that this is being recorded and will be posted on our website. If you have specific questions relating to your students' learning needs or documentation, we are happy to follow up with you after this visit, so please feel free to send those types of questions in an email to admission@landmarkschool.org. And one final note before we get started on the presentation. I know we have some families joining us this morning who are well into your application process with us. We also have families who are just starting to learn about Landmark School. So wherever you are in that process, this visit is designed to be a great overview of our student learning profile, our model, and our approach. Knowing that we have folks joining us from different stages of the process, I want to share some information about our current enrollment picture. We are still processing and reviewing applications for all programs and all grades. However, due to the time of year and the high volume of applications in process, we are carefully monitoring space availability as commitments come in, especially for our 5-week summer program and our middle school grades for the school year, so students entering grades 6, 7, and 8. We will be in touch about space availability once we have completed a formal review of all application materials for a student. One program that we know we have space for right now is our elementary program for next year, especially students who will be entering grades 3, 4, and 5. So with that being said, we will jump into the presentation now, starting with a brief history of Landmark. So Landmark School was founded in 1971 by a man named Dr. Charles Drake. Dr. Drake was a visionary dyslexic thinker and a powerful communicator who eventually became a diagnostician as well as an educator. He was fascinated all his life by how people think, how our minds work, how our minds process information, and especially how we process language. Dr. Drake recognized early on that he was having a harder time learning to read and write than his peers, but his motivation and his intellectual curiosity drove him to develop strategies for himself. And over time, one of those strategies involved taking a particular skill and breaking it down into smaller and smaller pieces to really isolate and understand the individual skills involved so that he could attack and master each of them one by one. And when it came to his literacy, this process accomplished 2 important things for our discussion today. First, it helped him analyze and understand the underlying skills that really allow our minds to sound out words, retrieve spelling rules, and read sentences fluently and automatically. And 2, it allowed him to create small, manageable goals for himself. And as he accomplished each goal, he noticed that each experience of success, no matter how small, provided a powerful boost to his confidence and his motivation. and experiencing that for himself, he recognized just how important those small successes would be for any struggling learner. So Dr. Drake's experience supporting his own literacy development went on to inform the foundational teaching principles that we still use to this day. Landmark School educates bright students with language-based learning disabilities using a diagnostic prescriptive model, meaning that we are constantly diagnosing or updating our understanding of each student's learning needs and then prescribing the teaching methods that will meet them where they are. When thinking about direct instruction here, we are talking about explaining and modeling skills in a highly structured sequential way. As a quick example, I have a 6-year-old son who, like many 6-year-olds, he can pick up on certain skills easily and other skills really need to be reviewed and taught. And right now he is very interested in learning how to tie his own shoes. And I know that that is a skill that will require direct instruction because it involves steps that have to be taught in sequence, done in a particular order to have the desired result. So here at Landmark, literacy and academic skills are introduced and taught in a sequential and highly systematic way, which is how we make those skills explicit. So explicit instruction involves identifying and breaking down the underlying skills needed to read and write, as well as the micro-uniting of instruction, which means breaking down skills, information, and assignments into small, manageable chunks, creating those attainable goals, which is how we provide many opportunities for our students to experience those small successes that Dr. Drake found so important, which in turn helps them to reinvest in and re-engage with their own learning. Back in 1971, we opened our doors to about 40 students. This year, we opened the school year with close to 460 students enrolled on 2 separate campuses. Our presentation today focuses on our elementary middle school, a day school serving students in grades 2 through 8 with a current enrollment of 174 students. This includes an elementary program of 51 students in grades 2 through 5 and a middle school program of 123 students in grades 6, 7, and 8. We also have a separate high school campus enrolling about 300 students located 3 miles away from our elementary middle school. And that has a day program as well as a boarding program with a wonderful residential curriculum. So who are the students who come to Landmark? Landmark students are bright. They are intellectually curious, creative thinkers, good problem solvers with unique ideas and the ability to make interesting connections between their ideas. So between concepts they've learned about and their own life experiences. And we'll talk in greater depth about our students' cognitive profile in just a moment. Landmark students are also well-adjusted, which means that they get along well with peers and adults. They have strong social awareness. And while some of our students really benefit from additional time to process social language, they are able to pick up on and interpret nonverbal social cues. They're generally able to manage their day-to-day experiences and the typical stressors that go along with being a kid these days. Certainly some Landmark students are coming to us with some school-related anxiety or lowered self-esteem related to their previous school experiences, but they do have the emotional readiness and resilience and motivation to face their challenges and really work on the skills that are hardest for them once they're in a learning environment with teachers who really care about them and understand how they learn and are meeting them where they are. Landmark students may also struggle somewhat with attention and focus, but they are able to respond well to redirection and are generally able to regulate their attention to a degree that's not distracting to other students in the classroom. And all landmark students are diagnosed with a language-based learning disability. This is an umbrella term that encompasses a number of other terms or diagnoses you may have heard or seen in evaluation reports. It includes the IEP category of specific learning disability in reading or in writing. In terms of diagnoses you may have seen in a neuropsychological evaluation, it includes specific learning disorder with impairment in reading, also known as dyslexia, or specific learning disorder with impairment in writing, also known as dysgraphia. It can also encompass a diagnosis of a language disorder, and this is a term that refers to a broader range of difficulties. So when talking about language disorders, it's important to note that Landmark's curriculum is designed to support a profile that is strong in higher order receptive comprehension of language. So that comprehension of ideas, concept formation, connection making, that's an area of strength for our students. And then our curriculum supports a relative weakness in expressive language, the retrieval and organization and sequencing of language. And I'll talk a bit more about that strength in just a moment. And later we'll get into how we support expressive language skill development. So now we're going to move into a discussion of the cognitive profile that our curriculum supports. So all these terms appear on a particular cognitive assessment called the WISC, the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children, which is one of our application requirements. So we'll start with these areas of strength listed up top here. Verbal comprehension refers to that strong conceptual understanding of the world around us. So as I mentioned a moment ago, our students have wonderful and unique ideas and the ability to make connections and categorize and associate their ideas. So perhaps your child loves stories and you hear them connecting something they heard in a story or saw in a movie to an experience in their own life. Or maybe they love the concepts they're learning in, for example, a nature science unit, and you go on a hike with them and you hear them connect something they see on the hike to something they learned in science. That higher order concept formation and connection making is a real strength for our students. This area of visual spatial thinking refers to the ability to perceive spatial relationships and reason or problem solve or construct something using visual information. So hands-on activities like building with Legos or woodworking or sculpting with clay or building a fort are great examples of activities that use visual spatial perception. That ability to envision something in our minds and then being able to build or put the pieces together to create that vision. And then fluid reasoning, strength in the area of fluid reasoning involves problem solving and logical thinking ability. So the ability to generalize information from a specific context to a larger context, or the ability to recognize a pattern and predict what comes next. This area of thinking is also tied to math reasoning and understanding number concepts. So now we'll move on to a discussion of cognitive areas that are a relative weakness for our students, which tend to fall in the realms of working memory and or processing speed. So starting with working memory here, it refers to the ability to hold on to newly received information in the forefront of our minds and be able to work with that information in the moment. So what is our brain able to do with new information in the first 20 to 30 seconds after it receives that information through our senses? And here we're talking about two senses, sight and sound, visual memory and auditory memory, because these kinds of working memory are both so important when it comes to language and language processing. So a struggle with visual working memory can represent a struggle to hold on to words when copying information, or a struggle to retrieve common spelling patterns. A struggle with auditory working memory can represent a struggle with holding on to spoken language, or holding on to the sounds and phonemes of language long enough to manipulate them, which has an impact on acquiring a range of reading and spelling skills. Processing speed here on the WISC is primarily referring to a kind of visual processing. So it's talking about how quickly our mind is able to recognize visual symbols and make a connection between a symbol and what it means or what it represents. This can involve scanning a row of symbols and quickly recognizing which are the same or which are different. There's also a specific test on the WISC called coding, where students are asked to quickly learn a code. They have to quickly form new connections between random visual symbols and something more meaningful like a number. And so if you think about it, when you're learning a code, you are being asked to forge this new connection that hadn't existed before, and then quickly store and retrieve that connection between the symbol and its meaning. That process, that ability is also related to a term you may have seen in your child's testing called rapid naming. Because when we're naming letters or numbers, we're accessing a connection that our brain made previously between what that letter or number looks like, the visual symbol, and its name or its meaning. So it makes sense that the strength or weakness of these connections affects the processing of language and the recognition of spelling patterns and syllable types and words and clauses. I'd like to just quickly highlight a comparison between rapid naming and another kind of visual retrieval that I think we can all relate to. So when we're navigating around on a smartphone and we're scanning all of our apps for a particular one, we are retrieving a tremendous amount of information that our brains have previously stored and connected to each of those little app icons, those little visual symbols. And for so many of us, that selection process, picking up our phones and selecting the icon that we want, that process is automatic for us because the information that we're retrieving has so much meaning and context. It's either important or personal or entertaining. But for so many of our students, as they learn to read, they are being asked to connect letters and numbers and letter patterns with names and sounds that don't yet have any context or meaning for them. So that's just, I think, one example of that relationship between processing speed and rapid naming and the retrieval of information that can help us understand how these terms, these areas of difficulty might match up with the literacy development that our students are dealing with. So that's the cognitive profile of our students. And now we're going to, I just jumped ahead a few slides. Now we're going to move into a discussion of our curriculum. So the curriculum here at Landmark is skills-based, meaning that we are prioritizing the remediation of reading, writing, speaking, and listening skills, emphasizing the processing and organizing of language across the curriculum, across all subject areas. So those 4 areas of literacy, reading, writing, speaking, and listening, are woven throughout the entire curriculum, all subject areas. We're also a program that is approved by the Massachusetts Department of Education. So our curriculum parallels the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks. This means that as our faculty write curriculum and lesson plans, they are using the framework's content area goals to facilitate the literacy and language development that is our priority. And so within each program, so within the elementary program grades 2 through 5, or within the middle school program grades, grades 6, 7, and 8, we are grouping students in classes based on skill level and certain aspects of their learning profile. So sometimes this is subject specific, like looking at math skills for math classes or looking at writing skills for the language arts classes. But all of our department heads and the people planning the programming here are looking at various aspects of literacy skills overall to group students in classes. And then they're looking at grade and age as secondary factors. So there might be classes here in the elementary program of a combination of 4th and 5th graders, or there might be a class of all 5th graders. In the middle school program, there might be a combination of 7th and 8th graders or a class of all 7th graders. If there's more than one grade in a small group class, it would only be one grade up or down. So we would not be, for example, grouping a 2nd grader with a 5th grader. And it would be extremely rare for us to group a 6th grader with an 8th grader. And so in terms of the faculty here at Landmark, we have a very large teaching faculty, which allows us to keep our student teacher ratio nice and low, 1 faculty member for every 3 students. In addition to appropriately supporting the number of students enrolled, that low ratio allows us to create opportunities for our faculty to support and mentor each other through professional development workshops and direct mentor-mentee relationships. We also have a partnership with Boston University's Wheelock College that allows us to offer a master's degree program in moderate special needs to our faculty. So any new faculty who do not yet have their master's would enroll in this program, meaning that all of our faculty either have or are working towards a master's degree. One really important faculty role here at Landmark is that of the academic advisor. The academic advisor carefully oversees a student's schedule, thinking about class placement and level of challenge. They're monitoring progress and coordinating an understanding of each student's learning profile among all of our departments and faculty. And academic advisors are the main contact for parents. They act as a liaison between parents and teachers, helping to facilitate communication and compile updates on progress. So this slide here provides a list of all of the classes that students have here at Landmark. And so one thing I want to note is up top, the first 3 classes all focus on different aspects of language skill development. And we will talk about each of these classes in more detail, but we have this tutorial that focuses on the areas of greatest need for each student. Then we have language arts focusing on writing and oral expression literature focusing on speaking and listening skills. And then the remainder of the schedule rounds out a typical core curriculum of math, science, and social studies. All students have 1 elective period, which alternates with phys ed class. Our elementary students have a 30-minute enrichment period built into their schedule, which refers to a time for some additional fun project-based activities or a rotating elective schedule, or some class discussions on important themes like building and maintaining friendships. So now we'll start talking about some of the unique classes here at Landmark, starting with our one-on-one tutorial class. This tutorial class really is the hallmark of a Landmark education. So it's one-on-one and it takes place every day, built right into each student's typical daily schedule. which means that this is not a pull-out model. No one feels like they're getting pulled out or doing something different from everyone else, and no one is missing instruction in order to go to their tutorial. It is built right into every student's typical daily schedule. Having a one-on-one tutorial means that the instruction for this class is completely individualized for each student. So this is a class where that diagnostic prescriptive model I mentioned earlier really comes into play. We are using formal and informal assessment measures, both at the time of admission and then at the start of the school year, again, to really construct an individualized program for each student that addresses goals across an array of reading and writing skills. Tutors use daily lesson plans not only for instruction, but also to assess individual skills, to identify the most pressing needs, and determine when to move on to new skills. The academic advisor, whom I spoke about earlier, that faculty role also works very closely with the tutor here to monitor progress and update each student's goals and think about the teaching methods that would be appropriate to bring into the tutorial. Landmark's teaching methods are based in a speech to print approach. For so many of us, I think we were introduced to reading by first being taught the letters of the alphabet, like what their names are and the most common sounds for each letter. That is a print to speech approach. In contrast, a speech to print approach teaches the sounds of spoken language first as the framework for how the English language functions overall. So helping students really identify individual speech sounds and phonemes and differentiate between them and categorize them based on how the sound is made or what your mouth looks like or feels like while it's making a particular sound. This approach provides students with a much more complete understanding of how the English language works and how and why it breaks down into sounds and syllables and other language patterns. To support this approach, we train all of our tutors with materials and methodologies from the Linda Bell LIPS program. So while not every student is using LIPS in tutorial, the training provides a shared language and a shared framework that follows students and connects instruction from class to class, from teacher to teacher, and from one grade level to the next. In addition, we pull from a number of other teaching methods that are systematic, sequential, and multisensory, providing intensive remediation for a range of skills, everything from phonemic awareness, that foundational ability to process and distinguish between the individual sounds of language, to strategies for sounding out unfamiliar words or decoding, learning to recognize linguistic patterns and spelling principles and sight words, building up reading fluency, how quickly our students can read accurately and expressively, and then developing higher order comprehension strategies and writing skills. So that is our tutorial class here, again, provided one-on-one every day to every student. So these next slides move on to discussing several of our small group classes. And so these would be classes of about 4 to 7 students in our elementary program and 6 to 8 students in our middle school program. So language arts here at Landmark refers to a highly structured approach to the writing process. These classes are based around engaging thematic units like the Olympics or Shackleton's exploration of Antarctica. These thematic units generate a shared vocabulary and content that becomes the basis of our students' writing. Graphic organizers are used at every level, brainstorming, sentence writing, paragraph development, multi-paragraph essay writing. And these graphic organizers provide that visual scaffolding of sentence grammar and syntax, as well as supporting the organizing and sequencing of ideas. One especially unique feature of language arts classes here is the heavy focus that we place on collaborative sentence writing, which really allows us to delve into the heart of language functioning every day in class. I mention this because I think for so many of our students, they're coming to us without a certain level of automaticity. It's not automatic. They're writing at the sentence level. They were never given the opportunity to really develop comfort and mastery of that foundational skill of writing a sentence. So maybe they have an understanding of basic sentence structure, but they weren't given that opportunity to learn to write a detailed, elaborate, powerful sentence to the point where it's automatic for them. So for at least the first half of the year, sentence writing is done in class collaboratively every day to really focus on that level, that foundation. Our students are analyzing and diagramming the basic requirements of simple sentences, learning about parts of speech and how words function, how clauses and phrases function, and then slowly adding in elaboration step by step, learning to make their writing as clear and powerful as they want it to be and as it deserves to be. And then the language arts classes here at Landmark teach cursive to all students. And I want to take a moment to explain why we feel cursive is so important to teach. Our philosophy on cursive is research-based. And one thing that Landmark considers in the design of our curriculum overall is not just the day-to-day applied skill, but also what learning a skill can do for our brains, how it can strengthen the language processing pathways in the brain. So research studies show that cursive not only helps minimize reversals and helps with spelling, because the spelling of a word is stored in the brain more firmly when the word is formed using a continuous movement of the hand. But there are also studies involving MRI images of brain activity showing that writing in cursive causes interaction between the right and left hemispheres of the brain, a kind of activity that is not present during printing or typing. And this kind of interaction, engaging both hemispheres at once, is associated with improved language and memory function. So that is our language arts curriculum here, again, focusing really heavily on written expression. And now we'll move on to discussing a class focusing more on oral expression. This class works on a range of speaking skills, and it's also supported by research that shows that when we speak, we are activating and strengthening specific language pathways in the brain which support comprehension. So if you've ever experienced the need to just talk something through with someone or have a conversation or bounce ideas off of someone, you've experienced the power that oral expression has to help crystallize an idea or organize information in our minds and really deepen comprehension. So in this class, we're using literature and thematic units as the content to facilitate the skill building. And we really work on these 5 areas of language development. So talking about the individual speech sounds, moving through units of meaning within a word, so really breaking down the structure of words, then also developing vocabulary, sentence structure, so similar to the way that we teach sentences in the language arts classes, we're also thinking about how to organize and express sentence structure through speaking. And then language pragmatic, so how do you say what you mean to say? How do you communicate what you truly intend to communicate? And we also have here some examples of the skill building that we do. So narrative sequencing, telling a story or reporting an event or a personal experience, comparing and contrasting information, explaining a process or a procedure, which really helps build up that sequencing for our students, and then sharing an opinion or supporting an opinion appropriately and respectfully. So next, we'll move on to the math curriculum. Landmark's math curriculum was designed by our math department head, Christopher Wooden, and it's a curriculum specifically designed for students with language-based learning differences. It's designed to support the strengths and weaknesses that we talked about earlier in terms of the cognitive profile of our students. So it really takes advantage of our students' wonderful strengths in fluid reasoning, that big picture concept formation, and then we go back and fill in the specific details and steps. So it also helps relieve the burden that math can place on the working memory by meaningfully chunking math concepts and procedures using movement and symbolic imagery. So I'll give a few examples of this. One, at the early elementary level, students might be working on a subtraction problem by using large laminated cards with arrays of dots that you might see like similar to the sides of a dice. And each student would have the opportunity to select 2 cards. The class would work together to figure out what those cards add up to. They're laid flat on the ground, and then each student takes a turn physically taking away 1 card while practicing the language of what they're doing out loud. So if they choose 4 and 5, the class adds those numbers together to make 9. The student whose turn it is would say 9 minus 4 while physically removing the 4 dot card. And with that movement, that kinesthetic input, they're reinforcing the concept that subtraction means taking away while also practicing the language. A significantly more advanced example at the middle school level involves plotting points on a plane and introducing the concept of the equation for slope. So students learning this lesson are using a huge grid. It's a huge contraption made of rope with an X and Y axis that takes up an entire wall. The vertical ropes on the grid are actually pulleys that the students can use to hoist colorful flags up to plot points on the grid. So each student has the opportunity to plug a number into the equation, calculate the point, and then hoist the flag up to the right point. And once all the students have taken a turn, they can see that their flags all line up in a sloping line that represents the shape of the equation that they're learning. And I just remember using a calculator when I was learning the equation for slope, and I would plug the equation in and hit enter and see the image appear. But I think it's so amazing that these students are, physically and collaboratively creating that image, forming so much more of a meaningful connection to the concept behind the equation. So that's our math curriculum. And now we're going to just move on to some other aspects of our program here at Landmark. In addition to the academic classes, each student has 1 elective period built into their day, which alternates with gym class. So you can see a range of classes here. They do vary somewhat from year to year, but this is a great sampling of the kinds of classes that we typically offer. So students would be assigned one of these classes that would alternate with gym, and they may be able to change halfway through the year. So they may have 1 or 2 of these classes from this list in addition to phys ed. So a quick overview of our daily schedule. Students are arriving to Landmark in the morning between 7:15 and 7:45. By 7:45, we ask everyone to be here so that we can have a morning meeting where we take attendance and make important calendar reminders, and then also do a little bit of community building. So maybe having a student interview a teacher and share some fun facts about a teacher, or playing a piece of music and talking about it. So after that morning meeting, which is for about 15 minutes, by 8 o'clock, the students are going off to their first class of the day. We have 8 periods in the day. All of the academic classes are 46 minutes with 5 minutes of passing time between each class. In the morning, there is a recess snack time called milk break. That term dates back to the very beginning of Landmark when we used to serve milk and cookies. Now we serve a range of snacks, but we kept the term milk break. So that's 30 minutes between the second and third class of the day. And then we have a 30-minute lunch. Elementary students have a 20-minute post-lunch recess time, as well as that enrichment period built into their day. And then the school day ends at 3 o'clock. We offer after-school activities from 3 o'clock to 4:30 Monday through Thursday. So pickup can typically be as late as 4:30 Monday through Thursday. We're getting close to the time in our presentation when the students will be joining us, and I want to mention that homework is a great topic to ask them about, but here at Landmark, we really view homework as a practice and review of information that has already been taught to the point of independence in class. So one of the reasons why I think we are able to make homework so carefully tailored for each class relates back to what I mentioned earlier about our classes being so thoughtfully grouped based on skill level and learning style. So teachers can really more easily tailor the volume and complexity of assignments for that particular class. And we would never be introducing new skills or concepts as homework assignments. These assignments really act as a reinforcement of daily lessons. Our goal is really to create a much greater sense of independence for our students, that they should truly feel like they can complete these assignments on their own without your help. And we hear from parents what a huge difference that makes, because we know that an improved homework experience that feels manageable can relieve stress for the whole family. So technology at Landmark is an important topic to cover because, as we've talked about a lot already, Landmark's commitment is to the remediation and development of our students' reading and writing skills. So our use of technology reflects that priority. Landmark uses technology as an educational tool that supports and enhances our curriculum, but we also want to really maximize opportunities for our students to be strengthening their language storage and retrieval pathways through the practice of their reading and writing skills. So we're careful to use technology in ways that don't bypass those important opportunities. Our approach to technology includes a digital citizenship curriculum that focuses on different skills for different grade levels, but it encompasses skills like password creation and safety, email etiquette and expectations, sharing information safely and appropriately online, identifying reliable sources, and media balance and well-being. And we are using Google Classroom as a classroom interface that we are introducing our students to and helping them to practice navigating those digital spaces and organizing and sharing information in that way as well. So we have a range of after-school activities here as well. Again, this is a sampling of after-school activities that we've offered over the years. The offerings can certainly vary from year to year, and there would be a schedule that's in our newsletter made available at different times throughout the year. But again, 3 o'clock to 4:30 Monday through Thursday is the after-school activity timeframe. And in addition to the after-school activities, we do have a sports program for our middle school students. So you see listed here the sports that we offer. The sports with asterisks are our high school sports teams that 8th graders are able to try out for. And I know that many of you are interested in our summer programs, so I wanted to provide an overview of our summer program details. So we offer a 5-week summer program for students entering grades 2 through 7. It will run from July 1st to August 2nd this year, with no school on July 4th or 5th. We offer 3 classes, and these academic classes really follow a very similar approach to our academic year classes that we discussed earlier in the presentation. So we have the one-on-one tutorial focusing in on each student's individual literacy goals. the language arts class with its emphasis on writing, and a language structure and literature class, which examines the structure of words and narrative concepts in short stories and poetry. The day also includes two 20-minute breaks, one for snack time and unstructured downtime, and then one for more structured recreational activities to really help continue the social connections that students form in the classroom. This program does require the same application process as our academic year program, but you can apply for the summer program and the school year at the same time using one application and one process. The schedule here represents Landmark's portion of this summer program that is a half-day model. We are continuing a partnership this year with the Glen Urquhart School, and they offer afternoon activity programming up until 4:30. And so we will provide a registration link to look at that afternoon activity programming at the point of enrollment in our summer program. So I'm noticing that it is 9:47, so I want to see if at this point we have some students joining us for our student panel. So I'm going to turn things over to Claire Sullivan, the head of our elementary middle school, and she will introduce our students and be getting started on the question and answer session with our student panel.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Emily. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our info visit here at EMS. I always say this is my favorite part of the info visit when we get to talk directly with our students who have joined us here today. So we have a representative from elementary, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. I just always like to say we do not prep them on any answers or questions, so they will answer completely honestly to anything that you'd like to know directly from them. So we're going to start. If you could say your first name, hometown, grade, and how long you've been at Landmark. And Timmy, we'll start with you.
Hello, I'm Timmy Soroy, and I'm from Ipswich, and this is my third year at Landmark.
Hi, my name is Blake Anderson. I'm from Newton, Massachusetts, and this is my second year at Landmark. I'm Liliana Sestito. I live in Peabody, and this is my second year at Landmark.
I'm Griffin Daniels, and I'm from Hamilton, Wenham, and this is my first year at Landmark.
Excellent. Thanks so much. So yes, if anyone has any questions for us, oh, we've lost our video. If anyone has any questions, we can type those in the chat. And I've got my screen up here as well, so we can look at those and we'll send them out to our students. You can ask them really anything about programming, starting a new school, after school activities, favorite classes. I'm just going to give everyone just one moment. Let's see. Oh, it keeps. Okay, the first question is, why do you like this school? So Timmy, do you want to start? Like, why do you like Landmark?
I like Landmark because you get to move around and like you get to go to different buildings and different classes. Because at my old school, it was the same class all day, and it was just like really hard because there wasn't any like breaks in between class or whatever.
Oh, interesting. So you were in one classroom all day.
Yeah.
In one space, and you like being able to move around.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
And we get recess and like milk break, which is like 2 breaks.
Which is we're in right now, right? We're in our milk break, which is a recess time. Great. Blake, what about you?
I think it's just opened up my learning opportunities and made it easier for me to learn in like the smaller class size. And it's a very like social environment. So in between classes, you can talk to your friends or just like really anytime you can see them.
I like Landmark because it helped me learn reading a lot better, and I like the class sizes.
Excellent.
I like Landmark because it helps me understand, like it teaches me like different ways to learn, and it's like small classrooms, and yeah.
That's great. Okay, we'll start the next question with you. Okay, we'll go this way. All right, the next question is, what class has helped you the most so far? What do you think?
I think tutorial, it's like a one-on-one, has helped me the most because it's helped me with reading and learning different ways and math. I was struggling a little bit with math in the beginning of the year, but I find it easier now.
Great.
I think tutorial in LA have helped me the most because I learned new skills in tutorial, and in LA I learned how to write longer paragraphs and essays.
Yeah, I think LA tutorial has helped me the most because the one-on-one with my tutorial teacher has kind of just made it easier to learn tricky subjects that I just really have trouble understanding in bigger settings.
Great.
I think tutorial and OE because OE has helped me with my like speaking and like talking to others like more fluently. And tutorial is just so much easier to learn with one teacher and it's not a bunch of kids.
It helps you be such a great panelist.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see that right now. So Timmy, we'll start with you for this one. How was your transition from your old school to Landmark? Like, how was it coming as a new student?
I thought it was really strange that there was like a one-on-one class and like all the classes were a lot different. And I was kind of worried because I didn't know anybody and I didn't know if it was going to help me or anything. And I was kind of like upset because I had to leave all my old friends.
Yeah, that's great.
It was definitely a big change for me, but I think moving into this environment was a lot easier because everyone here is very social and very welcoming. I also think one difference I really liked is that if you struggled with like a paragraph when you're reading class, nobody really like laughed at you. It was kind of just like a safe place and everyone really like understood.
It was a little hard for me because I had a lot of friends from my hometown and I would have trouble making new friends. But once I got here, I made a lot of new friends and I really enjoy it.
Um, I was it was like different because how small the classes were, and I get to move around now, and it was like yeah, it was felt a little bit different, but I think I like it now.
You like it now, you feel more comfortable. So this is a good question. How do you maintain friendships when you're from different towns? Like, how are you able to have friends here at Landmark and then outside of school? Like, how does that work? Do you want to start? Griffin?
Yeah. I talk to my friends. We text each other, so I have my friends' numbers, and then we also like hang out sometimes, like out of school, and some people from my town. I can see them too. So yeah.
That's great.
I talk to most of my friends. I see them with sports. I text them once in a while and we hang out. I see them mostly in the summer. It was a little hard when they first came here, but I like see them a lot more this year than last year.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Liliana. It's definitely hard for the first year to like figure out all your schedules and everything. But once you do, sports can really help connect with your friends, and the weekends is a really good time. And we also get half days sometimes on Fridays. So there's also chances for you to like regularly see your friends on weekdays.
I get to see my like the kids from my old school, cause I do sports with them. Like all the kids from my old school do sports with me, so I get to see them a lot when I do sports. And there's an online like what's it called where you can look up the kids' numbers or their
Oh, the directory.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's an online directory, so so you can like see your friends through that if you get their numbers.
Oh, that's perfect. That's a great example. There's a question about the summer program. Did any of you take this? Oh, do you want to talk about the summer program? And did you like it? That's the question.
Yeah, I took it 2 years ago. And I liked it because it was new for me. I didn't know what I was gonna expect, but it was like half days, and uh, it was kind of like easy to work, and I still had plenty of time for the rest of my days. And yeah, I liked it.
I liked it. That's great. So before we asked what's one thing that you really like about the school, Now the question is, what is one thing that you do not like about EMS? And you can be totally honest. I'm so curious. Do you want to start, Griffin?
I don't like how there's different like lunch things. Like if you have a different friend, like I'm in 6th grade and 8th grade and 7th graders have lunch together, and I have some friends in 7th grade, so I couldn't see them during lunch. But that's just a small thing. I mean, I still like it.
But the fact that your friends are split
Yeah.
over 2 lunch blocks makes it hard. Yeah, that's a great answer.
I like the school a lot. Like I like the sizes, but I don't really like the dress code that much. It's like hard to when I wake up in the morning and have to put on jeans. But I kind of just like pull through it and kind of because it's my second year, kind of just okay with it now.
I'm not a big fan of the commute, which can like kind of come in all different like times for everybody. But it's kind of a hard way to start your day, but after a while you can like get used to it. Yeah.
So the commute is really, yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe you, Timmy.
I feel I don't really like that. I feel like the lunch like periods, like we don't get a huge amount of time to eat. I feel like, and like Griffin said, like because a lot of my friends were in 5th grade last year when I was in 4th grade, so I would hang out with them. But now that they're all in 6th grade, I don't really like see them that much.
Right, there's just limited time that
Yeah.
elementary would mix with middle school. Yeah, that makes sense. Those are great answers. The next question, how has Landmark built your confidence? Has it helped build your confidence at all? And like what ways do you feel more confident? Timmy, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I feel a lot more confident with spelling and definitely reading because I could not read that well when I first came here. It was just really hard, and I didn't really like reading in front of people. But now I feel like it's easier.
Oh, that's great.
Like I agree. I feel like I've improved a lot in my reading, and it's helped me grow confidence with just like reading to like a class or maybe presenting. And I think OE has also like helped my confidence with presenting skills.
I have to agree. I feel more confident reading out loud to like a class and like presenting in front of everybody in morning meeting. Kind of just like boost my confidence and also with the spelling, gotten a lot easier.
I was at my old school. It was like hard for me and to like start reading in front of groups and stuff, but I would get like nervous in case like I messed up on like a word. And now I've kind of realized at this school that everyone has like the same thing, kind of, and I feel more confident when it comes to reading.
That's great. You're getting some really nice shout outs. They're saying you're doing such a great job. And you're being so honest. They really appreciate all the feedback. So nicely done. I don't know if there's any other questions specifically that anyone has. Yeah, they're saying thanks for being honest and from the heart. Nice job. I can ask you all a question. What advice would you give to a kid who's looking at Landmark, not sure about coming here, but just their family might be on this info visit, they're trying to find out information. Like, what would you say to them if you were able to talk directly to a student that's looking at coming to Landmark? Like, what would your advice be or anything you'd say? Timmy, what do you think? Do you want to start with that?
I would say that like it's a lot easier to make friends because I felt that some of the kids in my old school it was harder because they kind of like laughed at me when I like couldn't like read as well as them because I had reading disabilities. But now if you like mess up like they don't care because they sometimes do also. And it's just I feel like it's just a lot easier to make friends in the small classes. Like it gets you more time with like whoever you're with. I feel like then that's a lot easier to make friends because you're with a small group of kids that you can make really good friends with them.
Oh, that's really good advice.
I'd say it's definitely worth it to come here because after like all the hard work that you've made at this school, it definitely pays off because after everything you're better at reading and spelling and your social work, and it just helps me improve and everything.
Everybody here is like very welcoming, so it's easy to make friends. And like what Blake said, it's like you're better at reading and spelling. So I really enjoyed it.
I kind of forgot the question. So
Yeah, like what advice if you were talking to a student who's looking at Landmark? Is there anything you would want them to know?
it's easy to make friends. Even if you know like one person that goes here, you could like hang out with them, and then like you could hang out with their friends, and like it's easier to like ask the teacher questions. Like sometimes if you're in like a public school with like 20 kids in a class, the teacher couldn't always get to you. But since there's like 8 people here in a class, you can like answer questions, and it's like hard for you to not get seen.
That's great. Thanks for answering that. I'm going to come back to this question about technology, but just because you all started to talk about this, the next question, is there anything like a buddy system to newcomers? Like, how does it feel like your first couple of days or even weeks? Like you all talked about how easy it is to make friends. You said small classes or anything else that you would add to that? There's not really a formal buddy system per se, but how would you answer that one, the buddy system? Or like just being linked with kids when you first. You want to start, Timmy?
Sure. I feel like the teachers are also really welcoming. Like right when you get in the class, they're like everybody like they have everybody like say their names and like something about them so you can know some kids. And I feel like that helps you like learn to get to know people a lot easier also.
Oh, that's a great answer. So this next one's about technology. Are there any computer programs or technology that you enjoy using that was new to you when you started at Landmark? Does anyone want to talk about tech? Timmy, you want to start and we'll go right around? Think about
Sure.
technology.
I forget the name of the program that like it like has all the words and you just go through the like cycles and it shows how many like you've known and how many you're like working on.
The sight word?
Oh, the sight word program. Yeah.
Yeah.
You really like that one?
I feel like that's helped me a lot in my reading because you like get to do the words over and over again and it just helps you know them more.
Right.
Yeah, adding on to what he said, the sight words program, it just kind of helps you remember those simple words that you sometimes trip up on. And I think it's really like strengthened my memory on them. Also, we have something called the typing program, which just like strengthens our like typing abilities.
I enjoy in LA class when we use the computers to write essays and paragraphs. It's like fun because we don't really use computers that much. When you get to the chance to, like I really enjoy it.
I like how there's different like games you could play for like a reward, that like if you do like a good job on something, there's games you could play. And I also like the sight words because it's like if you mess up on a word, it gives you it till you have it down, and it's like helps me remember words.
That's great. This is a good question. What is the dress code? And Griffin, if you remember, do you remember summer dress code?
Summer dress code, there wasn't one.
Yeah, there wasn't one, right? You could wear.
Yeah, well, you could wear anything.
Within like to school.
Yeah, within like
like what you'd wear
Yeah.
to just any kind of camp summer
Yeah.
attire. What about the dress code for the school year? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
And you can tell us your feelings about it. It's okay.
I don't really like the dress code, but I think it's like khaki pants for boys. You can wear a Landmark sweatshirt, a what is it called? Like the collared shirt, a and then like a Landmark shirt. And that's like the dress code for boys, and yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain anything else.
No, it's great.
For like the jeans, you can wear like jeans, but like they can't have rips and they can't be blue jeans. And like you can't wear like leggings or jogging pants to school. It's more like kind of like formal.
And you're wearing a sweater. Like you
Yeah.
can wear sweaters.
There's a lot of like Landmark gear that you can buy off the site, so you can be more comfortable, but also be like dressed up enough for school. So like this is a Landmark sweatshirt. Honestly, I like the dress code and I don't like it at the same time because I like being like having jeans on because I love jeans. But it's also like fun to not come to school and see everyone in like pajama pants.
Yeah, just to add on to like what Griffin said, it's just for like pants or shorts, it has to be like khakis or like some other like formal type of like pants.
Nothing casual. Do you want to talk about dress down days?
Oh, sure. On dress down days, um, sometimes it's like a free dress down day, and sometimes it's like a $2 dress down day, and you have to pay $2 to dress down, and that's for to help like different like organizations that help like homeless people or people that or like food pantries, just like different like ways to support like people that like can't support themselves.
That's great.
And you can basically wear like anything you want. It just has to be like appropriate, and you can't wear like flip flops or anything. Like, yeah.
Excellent. How is the homework? And then the additional question is, do you dedicate time to review what you've learned that day? And do you also know how your friends feel about it, or do they dedicate time to review it? So how's homework? Do you dedicate time to review what you've learned that day? And what about your friends? How do they feel about homework? If you know. Timmy, do you want to start about homework?
Sure. I kind of I do it normally like after dinner or whatever, and then because like I feel like there's not really because most days after school I have sports, so it's kind of hard to get the homework done. But I think that it's not too much homework. Like I feel like other schools they would give a lot more homework, but it's not too much. It's doable. I feel like it's like easier.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I love about Landmark's homework is that everything that's on your homework you have reviewed in class. So you're not going home with anything new and nothing that you've like never learned. And the people that have a longer commute sometimes do their homework on like their bus or their car with their parents. And yeah.
The homework for me takes about 15 minutes for each class. For my math class, I get a packet. So it's due, we get it Monday and it's usually due on Friday. So that's like doable. And it's like the homework's like easy because like you review it in class and stuff. And if you have questions, you can email your teacher or ask them the next day.
I like the homework. It's not that I like homework because I'm not a huge fan of homework.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
homework like but I think it's pretty easy. Like probably like 10 minutes a sheet for me personally. And my friends at like public schools take like an hour to do like one thing of homework. And I'm like, thank gosh, it's so much easier. And they have it on computers, but we have it on paper, which I like. It's easy to keep track of, I think. And yeah, I like it.
That's great. We probably have time for one or two more questions, and we have about 2 questions, so that's great. The question is, what sports do you all play? Do you want to talk about just sports you play here or activities, like after school activities, and then what you might do outside of Landmark? Like, so sports and activities here, and then what you might like clubs or different things you might do outside. Do you want to start?
Yeah. I play basketball at Landmark. Yeah, I liked it. It was like fun. And and I play lacrosse outside of school, and in 8th grade I'll probably play for the high school, hopefully. But yeah, I play lacrosse, football, and yeah.
And basketball.
Yeah, basketball.
Oh, you're busy.
This year I played for the girls basketball team for Landmark. We had a pretty good season. We won all our games besides one. And out of school, I also play basketball. And that's really it because basketball is one of my favorite sports I like to play. But I might try volleyball because I'm kind of interested in it.
I play year-round soccer on like a bunch of different teams. So this fall I went up to the high school to play soccer there. And it was a really fun experience. I would definitely recommend it as an 8th grader. You get to connect with everyone from the high school if you're going to go to the high school. It like gives you opportunities to make more friends there. And yeah.
And you're very busy with soccer.
Yeah.
That's great. What about you, Timmy?
I don't like play any sports for Landmark, but
Yeah.
I hope to in like 6th grade play for like the Landmark soccer team and the Landmark basketball team because I play soccer and basketball outside of school. But that's pretty much it.
Have you done any clubs? Have any of you done any of the like Lego Club or Dungeons and Dragons?
I did a walking club last year.
The walking club.
a couple
Okay.
times.
Couple times. That's great. So here's a question about summer programs. So Griffin, this is for you. Do you think going to the summer program helped you start your first school year here in a way? Or is it harder to tell the benefits? Like, would you recommend doing a summer program before starting or not?
I would recommend it, but I went to the summer program. Then I did a 5th grade at my public school that had like something sort of like this, but not really. And I came here for 6th grade. I would recommend it because it gives you like a vision of what the classes are like and what like everything is about. And like say you want to make friends at the summer program and they go to landmarks, you can see them when you come there. So yeah.
That's great. So we have time for one more question, and there's one more question that came in. It says, is a public speaking class offered? You all are amazing public speakers. Where do you think that comes from? Is that just, I think it's a lot of your own skill set, but what about EMS has helped you with public speaking, or is there a class that kind of focus on it? Is it your confidence? What do you think?
I think oral expression helps because sometimes we do like just like what we did, or like we just everybody in our class we just do like presentations on like different things, and I feel like that helps me like like be a better speaker because at like my old school there wasn't anything like that, and I wasn't that good at, and I was like I didn't really like speaking in front of people, but I feel like now it's kind of easier because we do it a lot in OE.
So the OE class, yeah, the class you have every day. It's great. What about you, Jane?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like OE has definitely strengthened my public speaking skills. I think before I came to Landmark, I like stuttered a little bit and had trouble speaking in front of big crowds because I was very scared. But now I feel like everything is kind of evened out and I became more confident.
For me, it's OE, and we have representatives for each grade, and like the representatives, they have to like do a presentation in front of like the morning meeting and teachers, and I feel like that helped me because I was a representative last year and this year, and we do a lot of public speaking for like the students and teachers, so I feel like that gave me a lot of confidence.
That's great. What about you, Griffin?
I like public speaking just in general, like for some reason I don't really know why. I always got like a little bit nervous before, but OE like helped me stay calm. And like I'm a representative for the 6th grade, and you have to like present slideshows in front of the school for like dress down days, and for like and just for the 6th grade too. So I like it.
That's great. Well, I know that was the bell and you all need to head to class, but I just want to thank you all for taking your time. They took their time out of milk break, which is their recess time, to come join us. And we just so appreciate how you represented yourselves and answered so honestly. So thanks again. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
So you all head to 3rd period.
Thank you, students. Great job. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you all so much for your wonderful questions and comments for the students. That is always my favorite part of these points, to hear their candid comments, and yeah, I appreciate just all of the wonderful questions that you asked. So continuing on,
Screen, you know, like they don't need to see my like side. Oh.
So continuing on with the visit this morning, so I am going to stay on the meeting, and then I'm joined by Claire Sullivan, the head of our elementary middle school, and Tara Jolie Loudermilk, our dean of students at the elementary middle school. So we are available to continue answering questions. If you'd like to continue putting any questions that you have in the chat, we'll be monitoring that, and happy to continue answering questions. And again, if you are more comfortable unmuting yourself and asking a question, that is totally fine as well. Just a reminder that we are recording this visit and it will be posted on our website later as a resource. Looks like we have some questions. So the first question is Orton Gillingham used at Landmark? So Claire, would you mind taking that one?
Sorry, I'm having some technical issues. There we go. The short answer is no, we do not have the OG program in use here on campus, but we use elements of it. But all of our teachers are trained in the Lindenwood Bell program, their first summer that they start here. So we mainly use that reading program in conjunction with pieces of other ones like Read Naturally. And like I said, elements of OG are used, but not the formalized program.
Thank you, Claire. So I see a question in here about acceptance into the summer program. So it says, if you are accepted into the summer program, does that give access to the following full year? So it is possible to apply for both summer and school year at the same time using the same application process. The admission office does need to track enrollment separately for each program. So when we're making a decision and talking with you about the admission decision, we will let you know if we're offering a spot in just the summer program or if it's a spot for the summer program and for the school year. Like another question here says, aside from the intimate classroom size, how are students supported in their transition to your school? Tara, would you like to take that one?
Yeah, I'd love to. Hi, everyone. I'm Tara Jolie Laudermilk, one of the deans of students here. And we take great pride in helping our students kind of set the stage for when they come to Landmark. So we offer during our, once the summer program is ended, we offer some programming in the summer for new students to come onto campus, have the opportunity to explore the campus a little bit, as well as recognize they're not the only new student. In some school settings, there might be 1 or 2 new students to the whole grade. And at Landmark, it's unique in that they start to see that maybe there are 10 new students in that particular grade or more, or, you know, within reason. So we try to take that time for them to establish I'm not the only new student, but also give them a chance to meet someone so that on the first day of school, they're already coming into school knowing someone. And then on our first day of school, we make it more of an orientation day, which provides getting to know you activities, again, going through the campus and learning spaces and places on campus, but also some of the adults they'll be interacting with throughout their time at school.
Thank you, Tara. So the next question is, how many classes are there in each grade and number of students per grade? I'll just start by saying that the admission office is not looking at specific capacities for each grade. So it really can vary year to year, the number of students in each grade. Claire, would you have any additional information to share about like the number of classes per grade?
Sure, it really varies year to year, as Emily said. So we have about 50 students in our elementary program, but they're not grouped by grade. So there's not necessarily a 5th grade class, a 4th grade class, a 3rd grade class. You may see classes with 3rd and 4th graders mixed in together, 4th and 5th grade students together. And there's 8 homeroom classes in that program. And then the middle school, again, it really depends on how big the class year is, but students can be in mixed grades. It's more trending towards 8th grade students are with other 8th graders and 7th grade students with other 7th graders, but that's not a set rule that we have. We really put them based on what their skill set and what they need to work on and what they're really strong coming in with. So, it all really just depends on any given year. We can have different, that number can shift with regarding how many sections of each class and grade that we have. And students are mixed so much, so they're not necessarily with the same students across their schedule. You could have some really skilled in our math program, but you need more remediation in oral expression. So you might have different groups with regarding that. There might be certain students that kind of go along your schedule with you. We'll see that more in middle school. There might be a cluster that kind of have similar needs and similar strengths that are being highlighted. But it really varies given the year about how many sections we have in a particular grade.
Thank you so much. So there's a question about the summer program here. It says, what percentage of kids in the summer are Landmark students? So the majority of students attending our summer program are using it as a standalone program where they would get that boost to their skills and take those skills and strategies back to a different setting. However, we do have a handful of students each year that are enrolled for the school year before they come and then staying throughout the summer. Many students also use it as a transition into the program. We have students like Griffin who attend the summer program, go back to another setting, and then eventually enroll. We also have students where families have just planned that the summer is going to be used as a transition right before they enroll. I would say it is a handful, so 5 to 10 currently enrolled students who would be attending our summer program. We're expecting potentially an enrollment this year of about 50 to 55 students. Okay, so let's see, there is a question about everyone's, how long everyone has been in their role. I'll just say, so I have been here at Landmark for almost 20 years. So I've been working in the admission department for that time and have just loved this work and loved being a part of the Landmark community. And Claire and Tara, would you like to share a little bit about that?
I'm sure I'd be happy to. I'm in my 18th year here at Landmark. I was an elementary teacher, a middle school teacher, a language arts department head, and I've been in my current position for this is my 4th year.
And this is my 17th year here at Landmark. I have been in my previous to being the dean, one of the deans of students. I was the assistant dean of students for 10 of those years. And this is my first year within the role as one of the deans of students.
Awesome, thank you. So there's a question here about dyscalculia as well as dyslexia. So does Landmark work with students that have dyscalculia? And if we do, how is it integrated into their classroom studies? I think, when during the information session, we talked a bit about our math curriculum, which is really a curriculum specifically designed to support students with learning differences, to really work through their strengths in big picture thinking while incorporating really a heavy emphasis on multisensory instruction. So there's movement and visual images that are helping to chunk information and support our students' working memory as they move through the steps of various math problems and concepts. I think when we're from the admission perspective, when we're looking at application materials, we do see dyscalculia as a diagnosis, and typically we would be the right match if it was in addition to a diagnosis of dyslexia or a specific learning difference in reading or in writing. If we see dyscalculia standing alone as the only area of need, then we might not be the right match overall. And anything you'd like to add about that?
No, I thought what you answered was great.
Next question. So do Do children need an official diagnosis from a neuropsych eval to be accepted? Do they specifically need to be diagnosed with dyslexia? So our application process includes specific diagnostic testing requirements, but that diagnostic testing could be done by a school district or a private neuropsychological evaluation. Oftentimes, if the testing is done by a school district, there is not an official diagnosis. What we would usually see instead is that a student is on an IEP and has met criteria under a specific category, and that would be specific learning disability in reading or specific learning disability in writing. So those two IEP categories would be the most typical categories that we see when we're the right match for a student's learning profile. And then, if there is a private neuropsychological evaluation, that is where we're often seeing that diagnosis of dyslexia being made, in addition to that category of language disorder that I had mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. That's another diagnosis that you may see. And if your child has a language disorder, we look carefully to see that there is that strength in receptive language and that relative area of weakness in expressive language. Next question says, I didn't hear the kids talk much about math. Could you talk a little bit about the math programs you offer, and how you think that compares to other public and private schools? So I think we did talk about that just a moment ago. Anything else you might want to share about the math curriculum here?
Yes, as Emily noted, it's an in-house program. It's created by our department heads. It's constantly tweaked. It's called Wooden Math, and you can find that online. Chris Wooden, our department head, posts a lot of videos that are free, a lot of templates. He travels the world talking about his math program. It's like Emily said, it's really about kinesthetic. You're working with your physical body to act out a lot of the math problems, especially at the younger ages or beginning levels. So he'll have you plot yourself on the Cartesian plane. So we'll see our students all around campus with their math classes, or you'll, graph yourself when you're learning about slope-intercept form, things along those lines. It's not, and then they take it to paper and pencil. So it's a lot of the oral language is put first and discussed, and then you put to the written piece. So it's not just like straight to math facts or rote memorization. It's really using all your language skills to get to these mathematical terms and concepts, if that makes sense. But
that's great. Thank you so much. So there's a question here about the commute. Could you speak to where families live in the area? And students commented on their long commutes. Tara, would you mind taking that one?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have students that live as close as the street beside us, and students who have commuted from Rhode Island on a daily basis to get here. So it really actually just depends on students and families and where they live. I'm sure Emily will tell you, we don't necessarily choose our admission. Our students aren't selected based on where they live. It's really based on if we can best service the students. And so we have families that commute, and students will carpool with one another, or some families have worked it out with their school system to actually provide transportation. And that's all done separately between families and school systems. But we have students, as Blake noted, who travel, 40 minutes, 4 minutes, 14 minutes. It just all depends on where they live. It's really actually phenomenal, the distance that some of our students and families travel on a daily basis to get here.
Thank you, Tara. Yeah, it is. It's a really kind of an amazing radius around Landmark that people are coming from. There's a question here about the summer program. Will their programming be on any computer programs or personal instruction? In terms of personal instruction, students do have the one-on-one tutorial as part of that 5-week summer program. So that's a daily one-on-one tutorial incorporated into the program. Anything that you could share on computer programs over the summer?
Absolutely. So the tutorial program, the sight word program that some of the students were noting earlier that they really enjoy, that would be part of the summer program for a lot of those tutorials. And then a lot of the language arts classes in the summer, depending on the level and age of students, may use Chromebooks, and they'll get them into Google Classroom, typing some of their papers and stuff. But there's no homework in the summer program, so there's nothing that they're accessing after school hours. But yes, some of the classes will access the Chromebooks in the classroom, but really depends on the level and age of the student.
Thank you. There's a question here about parent involvement in our community. And yeah, there's lots of ways for parents to get involved. Would either of you want to touch upon those options?
Sure, yeah. So we do have a Landmark Parent Association that sets up wonderful things such as maybe coming in to campus and setting up activities and events for faculty and or students after hours. And then they also provide some educational opportunities for parents to learn a little bit more about how our students learn. So we do have a parent association connected through Landmark. It's definitely growing since we're kind of coming through some of the pandemic, but I do feel like we have a wonderful person in Chrissy Kenny who kind of facilitates that program, and we welcome and invite parents to be a part of our community as much as we can.
And I would add, we're very sensitive to people's commutes, their lives outside of Landmark. We're not anyone's hometown school per se. We know we have a lot of working families, or like I said, come from a distance or have other children. So we're sensitive to that with regarding to our program offerings. So some things are during the day, others are in the evenings. We want to have that variety open to everyone. And we have 2 times in the year that we have conference days that we offer. The fall is an in-person time where we want you to come, spend the day with us, tour the campus, see your student in action. And then in the spring, you have the option of either coming in person for your conferences, or there's a virtual option as well, because we're sensitive to people's time and ability to make it here. But we love having families come on campus and to see their students in action. It's great.
Thank you both. So the next question is, how many years do students typically spend at Landmark? The average length of stay, when we've looked at it from our elementary students up through our high school students, the average length of stay is 2 to 3 years. I do think that most students are staying for a minimum of 2 years here. It's pretty unusual for a student to just come for 1 year and then transition out. But I also want to emphasize that there are really a range of experiences here, and it's such an individualized journey for each student. So it's something that we really think so personally and individually, working with families about on their goals, and thinking about when transition planning is right. Is there anything you either of you would like to add about that?
Sorry, Emily. I would just add, we do have a lot of students transition from our elementary to our middle school program. That's a really seamless transition. They're literally walking across the courtyard into a new building. And although their programming changes with regards to class schedules, since they don't have a homeroom, like a more standard elementary program in middle school, but we do see a lot of students come in the elementary years and stay through middle school. And then we have so many new middle schoolers, and so many of them graduate to our high school, or at least go to our high school for 9th grade. So right now we have a fairly large 8th grade class, and most of them will be going to the high school. They all had different start times here at EMS. So some have been with us since the early elementary years. Others came in like 5th or 6th grade. And then we have a handful of brand new 8th graders this year who are going on to the high school. But I would say students are staying longer and longer. That's one of our goals, is to make this their school for however long they are here. We want them to feel pride in place, and feel like this is their community. And like Emily said, though, it's all individualized about how long your stay ends up being, but That's kind of our goal. We don't want you to think you come in and we're going to promise that we're going to get your student out or to another location in 2 years if they're not ready to. That really is a family decision at so many junctures, but just to note that.
Thank you, Claire. The next question is about financial aid. Could you speak to the options for financial aid for Landmark after acceptance? So we do have a separate financial aid application from the admission application. We're keeping those processes intentionally separate so that we can really look to see if Landmark is the right fit for your student's learning profile and learning needs. And then we have a separate financial aid committee that looks at financial aid applications. There's a page of our website called Affording Landmark where you can learn more about the financial aid process, and you can begin the application and upload all documentation there to a secure portal. There is a contact in our business office, Jody Bertolino, who can definitely answer questions about the financial aid process. I do think the financial aid awards that we're offering at this time of year are limited, but it is still possible to apply. I think the application itself is still open, so the process is still available. So the next question is just about the WISC profile that we talked about earlier. And this question just mentions that what if a student's strengths and difficulties are different from the WISC profile that we discussed? We would be more than happy to review your child's evaluation report before you apply if you're feeling that way, if you have concerns about fit. So if you could connect with us by emailing admission@landmarkschool.org, and we can follow up with you to preview that information. So this question talks about typical turnaround in terms of notification. So that is variable at this time of year, just due to the high volume of applications that we have in process right now. It depends on once we have a chance to carefully review all of the application materials received. It has to do with how much follow-up we need to do for any given file. Again, it is a really individualized, personalized review of each file. So that's why it's hard to predict time frame and turnaround. We do communicate with families throughout the application process, and as soon as we complete a formal review of all of the materials that are required, that's when we would really be able to be in touch with a more specific time frame and an update on our enrollment picture. How many of your students go on to higher learning? So that, in terms of higher learning, if you're thinking about college placement after high school, that is about 95% of our graduating seniors are going on to college. And that's certainly, there's a lot of information on our website on a page about our guidance and transition department at the high school. In terms of transition after middle school, either of you just want to talk a little bit about those options after middle school?
Yeah, so several of our students, like we noted earlier, the elementary to middle school juncture is a time that some families will start thinking about other middle school placements. Most of our elementary students stay on for middle school, but then again, at 8th grade is another juncture that students will think about high school placements. And as I know, most of our 8th graders go to our high school, but other students will return to their private school that they were before they came to Landmark. Others will go back to their public school that they were a part of before they came to Landmark, and then others will look at totally new private schools that they're interested in. So there's always a handful of students that look into that option. And we have our academic dean is also will help with transition and guidance with regards to that. She won't tell you where to go. She will just tell you what the different programs are like. So she's got her finger on the pulse of regards to this is who your student is, and this is what they may need in high school. And these are more out of the list of schools that you're looking at. these are the ones to really hone in on and do more legwork on regarding like tours and such, and ask these specific questions. So she can help. She's helped guide a lot of families with that decision, and others will land on, maybe I'll do one more year at Landmark and try 9th grade there, or I'll look at the prep program at the high school, or they'll make the decision right away to go to another placement. But
Great, thank you, Claire. So looking at the chat, I think we have covered all the questions that are in there so far. Oh, looks like we just had. What are the typical colleges and universities that Landmark students attend? So without getting into specifics, I know there is a list on our website. So that's absolutely a resource that that we can direct you to. I can actually try to find that link and put it in the chat if there are other questions that we want to discuss while I'm doing that. Looks like though we might not have any. Oh, somebody. So a member of our team just put that link to the that guidance and transition page of our website that talks about placement, college placements and colleges and universities. So there was another question just added. Do school systems still pay a full tuition for students, or is that rare? We do have students that are fully funded by their school district to attend Landmark. So that is definitely still happening. And we have a percentage of our students every year who receive funding from their school district. Some it's full funding and some it's a cost share situation where it's a partial funding from the school district. So what does a typical day look like for the summer program? So our summer program this year is a half-day academic model with 3 classes, the one-on-one tutorial, a language arts class focusing on writing, and a language structure and literature class focusing on the structure of words and narrative concepts and short stories and poetry. That day includes lunch and ends at 12:30, but we are continuing a partnership with Glen Urquhart School, which is a school just 5 minutes away, and they offer wonderful afternoon activity programming. So enrolled families will have the option of registering for the afternoon. We'll be providing a registration link to families at the point of enrollment. Do you have students that leave Landmark and then end up coming back? We do have that. I would say most typically it might be students that attend our elementary middle school for any number of years and then leave and come back at some point to our high school program. But I think in rare instances, it has happened at all grade levels. And there is a link to the elementary middle school 5-week summer program in the chat now as well. Does the summer program include math? It does not include math. So this is a summer program specifically focusing on skill building in areas of literacy, reading, writing, and speaking skills. All right. And there are now, if you scroll back through the chat, we now have a link to the Parents Association section of our website. So yeah, please take a moment to scroll back through and look for these links that have now been added. Can a student start mid-year or only in September? So usually we are at capacity. We have reached our full enrollment by the start of the school year. So we're usually not able to consider students on a rolling basis or for mid-year placement. However, please always feel free to get in touch with the admission office and express interest and check in with us, because if we have space available, if there's something unexpected that happens with our enrollment, we are always happy to look at that. But typically, students are starting at the beginning of the year, and we're at full enrollment throughout the year. All right, that we may have gotten through all of the questions in the chat. Thank you all so much for these wonderful questions and the questions that you asked of our students and your great feedback for them. We really appreciate those comments and questions. We are so appreciative of your time this morning and your interest in Landmark. Again, if you have more specific questions after today, please feel free to reach out to admission@landmarkschool.org. A member of our team will get in touch with you. And certainly if you decide to apply or you have an application in process, members of our team will be in touch with you throughout that process. Thank you so much to Claire and Tara, and definitely to our students today. And thank you all for being here. Again, we really appreciate your time. Have a wonderful rest of your day.